On today's episode of the podcast, I'm excited to reconnect and talk with an old pal of mine, a former colleague and a guy who I've played a lot of music with on stage, in a pit orchestra, just all over the place. We've done a lot of fun stuff. And he's a great musician, educator, and just a good friend of mine. And I just can't wait to dig in and find out more about his story and what all the cool things that he's done in his career. So without further ado, it's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Brock Derringer to the podcast.
Hey,
Brock.
Brad. Thanks for having me, man. This is a lot of fun. This is really cool.
I'm really excited about this. I've been looking forward to, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm glad that we're finally sitting here having a conversation with each other about all of this. It's really, really a big pleasure of mine.
Same. I'm looking forward to it. Whenever you reached out to me about a year ago, I was like, let's do this. And now we finally got to do it. So
I know. It's really good. It's good. So yeah, I it's funny. You and I, we worked together for a few years. We'll dig into that a little bit later. But it's funny. I don't know a lot of your, we'll call it your origin story about you becoming a musician. And so I'm really curious about that. Where did you grow up?
So my roots are mainly from a small town in South Georgia called Thomasville. Just about 45 minutes west of Valdosta, Georgia, just north of Tallahassee. And so I grew up there in South Georgia, and it's a really, really unique town because despite it being a small rural South Georgia town, they had a really huge appreciation for the arts. And we had a foundation called Thomasville Entertainment Foundation that they brought in like Doc Severinsen and Marvin Hamlich and the Venice Baroque Orchestra, and Wynton Marsalis and Lincoln Center Jazz would come to Thomasville and perform. It was just, wow. It was very, very unique being able to, go out on a Friday night and hear, not every weekend, but, occasionally those caliber groups. But, that's my hometown. I'm a South Georgia boy at heart, even though I don't have the accent.
I remember I went to Thomasville at some point. I think I played there at some point. Cool little town. I remember that. It's a really nice little town.
Like I said, pretty unique. Yeah. But I grew up there and got started playing piano at the age of 10 from Miss Peggy Tyson. My middle school band director put me on the clarinet. His name was Ansley Fleetwood. He's a really unique guy. He actually, unfortunately, just passed away last spring, but he's a Nashville recording artist. He recorded George Jones' He Stopped Loving Her Today. He actually wrote that.
Really?
He wrote, helped write The Good Old Boys, which is the theme song for Dukes of Hazzard. So, going to his house, he would have like platinum records of, of George Jones and stuff at his house. So he put me on the clarinet, and then, I was always just highly involved in the music at my church as well. I went to the Baptist church.
Do your parents
Yeah, my
music?
dad is a drummer. He was a drummer. My mom is a French horn player, and she was with when she first graduated, when she just got out of high school, she actually ended up joining. I don't know if they're still around anymore, but they're Up With People, like a traveling kind of music group that was really, really large back in the day.
Yeah.
But my sister plays flute. My brother played trumpet. My grandfather was the first trumpet player in the Ohio State Marching Band as a freshman. He was the first freshman ever allowed in there. He would always tell me that story every Thanksgiving when I would see him. Which is great. And we would also watch the Victor Borga piano special at his house every Thanksgiving, which never got tiresome. But yeah, everybody in my family was very, very musical.
That's really cool. And so I imagine that transition to, when you were 10 to start playing piano, it was just kind of a natural thing, I would imagine.
It was.
Did all your siblings also take piano, or is it something that
I was like the only one in my family that actually took private piano lessons. Now that I think about it, and so the piano, we only had one, and it was in the living room. It was actually the piano that my mom grew up with at her house. It was the piano she learned on. You're right. It was just, I was the one that kind of seeked out. I was like, I want to take piano lessons, and so my parents used to have to tell me to quit practicing because it was time to watch TV. It was very much the opposite of, what I guess sometimes it can be, until they got me a piano for my room. And so then that just kind of like, well, you want to keep playing, just go upstairs.
Yeah. It's funny you're talking about that. Both of us have spent a considerable amount of time teaching, and sometimes it's hard to think about students that are playing instruments kind of against their will. Because I imagine both of us, when we were that age, I couldn't practice enough to and I think about students that maybe are doing it because their parents are wanting them or making them do it, and I just never that was never a thing for me. I wanted to practice.
Exactly. I mean, it was the same thing. I don't know. There was the competitiveness to it. There was also, just the artistic fulfillment to it, and just like, and my piano teacher was so great too. Like, I mean, she not only was very, methodical, and yes, you have to play Bach and you have to play this, but she also let me pick out my own recital pieces, which is, I think, important sometimes, speaking of students that necessarily they're doing it kind of against their will, then maybe what you do is you give them something that they really want to learn. They gotta really want to do it. And so that's not always the case, but I know when that movie American Tail came out and Somewhere Out There was on the radio, like I could not get enough of that song. I had to play that song like 24/7, and Bohemian Rhapsody was a recital piece of mine that my piano teacher probably shouldn't have let me do, but I did, so.
Well, and it's those little things along, those breadcrumbs along the way that we're sitting here having that conversation, probably because of you getting those opportunities when you were
exactly. Yeah. My piano teacher was awesome. So I took from her all the way throughout high school, but like when I was 14, she would play at a couple different churches in South Georgia, Ochlockonee Methodist and Meigs Methodist. And when I was 14, she actually let me take over 2 Sundays a month. And so like what we would do is I would do the first and third Sunday, and then she would do the second and the fourth Sunday. And it was literally, you've heard of circuit preaching. We were circuit playing. So I would do a 10 o'clock service at Ochlockonee Methodist, and then we would get in the car. My parents would drive me. We'd go 20 miles down the road to Meigs, and then we would do the same service at another church. So it was pretty cool, at 14 years old, being able to experience that. So, I mean, being in the church and the music in the church has a lot to do with, me as a musician too nowadays.
Sure. So I'm assuming you were, you were the accompanist during the hymns, and was there a choir
small
as
choir
well?
Of both of them. Yeah, very, very small choir. But, just that, not being able to drop a beat because you're accompanying 100 people, really trying to make sure that you're, staying on it. That pressure without the pressure, at that age is kind of perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you, during these formative years of you as a player, what were you listening to kind of for pleasure? Were you listening to a lot of pop music, or were you listening to classical music? What were you
sure. My musical tastes have always been all over the place. I think when CDs first became a big thing, I'm pretty sure that the first few CDs that I bought had no actual connection to one another whatsoever. Def Leppard, Adrenalize, the Phantom of the Opera score, and the Righteous Brothers. It's like, that was really the first 3 CDs I owned. So, I was your typical teenager listening to, Incubus and Fuel and, some of the rock from the day. But, I was also huge into marching band and huge into symphonic band music because of my clarinet. And my dad was in a jazz trio quartet with my middle school band director, Ansley Fleetwood, who I was talking about. And so they would play a lot of like the 30s and 40s jazz standards. And so like I got to listen to a lot of that, which, not too many teenagers are listening and performing in 40s jazz standards, as well as the rock of the day. But I remember I used to, this is going to definitely date me, but I remember there used to be 2 magazines back in the day. One was called Piano Today, and the other was called Sheet Music Magazine. And it literally used to be just like magazines full of sheet music, some pop tunes, some jazz, some, they actually had a thing in there called a mystery piece where you had to figure out what it was. But we used to get one of those every month. And as soon as we get it, my dad would put it on the piano, and I'd just get home from school and just start playing through it.
Oh, that's great.
And he'd sit there. My dad never really read music, but he was a musician, a great musician, and a percussionist. And he would sit there and he'd be like, that's actually supposed to be swung. That's to take your time with this. So it was like a little mini lesson, for my dad just sitting in the living room at least twice a month playing through that music. It was fun.
I'm thinking about my relationship with Skylar as we're talking about that. And we always called that was like our version of playing catch with each other. It's like we would sit down and do that kind of stuff.
I haven't thought of it that way, but yeah.
Some dads will go out and play catch with their son or their child, or that was what we would do. We would either sit and listen to some music, or he would play something and I would maybe look over his shoulder. And, it's what incredible memories that you still have to this day of doing that with your dad. That's
pretty
so cool.
special. Pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't realize that your dad was a drummer and percussionist.
Fantastic drummer. Really cool. In fact, Ansley Fleetwood, who was the middle school band director, he's played with all sorts of people. He used to tell me, he was like, your dad, one of the best drummers I've played with. And it doesn't have to do with his technique. It has to do with everything about his feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it verifies what I've felt about you as a player for so long, is that you are like, you're solid. Your tempo is solid, but not in a mechanical way. You have great feel as a piano and keyboard player. And then I'm also thinking about you at 14 playing at a church, backing up all these singers, and like, it requires a lot of things under the hood to be able to do that and to make it comfortable for singers. It does. Right?
You're right. Yep.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. Did you do in marching band? Did you play clarinet?
I did play clarinet until my senior year. And then I was the drum major. So, but yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Where did you go to high
Thomasville
school?
High School. I went to the city school.
So Thomasville High School.
So, and we have some great band directors in high school. In fact, my sophomore year, we got a chance to go up and play Carnegie Hall. And so that was pretty awesome. We went up there and played like Whole Suite in E flat, Irish Tune from County Derry by Percy Granger, and Enigma Variations, and
man, that's like the standard, like the repertoire for the wind ensemble.
Overture from Candide by Bernstein. I mean, we had quite a group. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. I imagine that makes the transition into college not that big of a deal if you're playing that kind of rep when you're in high school.
Right. You're right.
It's really good. Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I started out as a piano performance major at the University of Alabama. I didn't finish there because I decided I wanted to switch to music education. So I ended up finishing my music education degree at Valdosta State down in
Boy, yeah, great.
It
great
is
school. Yeah. What I've been curious about that, about what took you down the path of being an educator. What led you down that path?
Sure. So even in high school, like I would kind of give an occasional lesson on the piano or on the clarinet to students that might be a little bit younger than me, and so I really kind of valued that. I always got some pleasure out of that. But my sophomore year, actually my junior year at Alabama, I had the pleasure of taking one education course. And we got a little bit of opportunity to go into some classrooms at the middle schools in Tuscaloosa and to kind of teach. And the more I learned about the possibilities of music education, the more I just was like, man, this is really what I want to do. Like, I mean, the performance is great. I really, really like it, but it also seems kind of, for lack of a better word, isolated or selfish, or, you know what I mean? It's like I'm having it all for myself, And there was just something about sharing the music and watching that light bulb go off and those learning moments that just like made it really rewarding.
Well, and I think that as educators, we are byproducts of the people that had great influences on us. And I would imagine that those sparks, those seeds that were planted early on, with whether it's your piano teacher or your middle school band director or your dad or all of these folks, you probably are following in their footsteps.
There's certainly bits and pieces of everything from all those people that you mentioned that show up not only in my teaching philosophy, but also some of the, phrases that they used to always use. I'm a middle school band director. There's a reason why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth,
Yep. That's right. That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just thinking back on teachers, instructors. I mean, I have some that, like, I would say probably changed the course of my life, whether it be deciding that I wanted to go in this direction or taught me how to learn, or taught understanding the process of learning how to play an instrument or learning a piece of music. I mean, I take it, I'm not doing as much with music these days, but that same idea of the process I'm doing in my career to this day.
Yeah, I actually found this book this summer called The Science of Rapid Skill Acquisition that's written from the perspective of somebody learning how to play the piano that I'm going to use with my classes this year.
Really? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to check that out.
Science of Rapid Skill Acquisition. And it talks about structuring your environment when you practice. It talks about, setting realistic goals. It talks about so much stuff, and we're gonna read a little bit at a time in my piano classes this year because I'm teaching AP Music Theory, and I've got about 31 piano majors at the school that I'm at now. Yeah,
really. So what are you doing?
So I'm teaching, like I said, AP Music Theory, and then I've got piano students that I'm at Stillwell School of the Arts, which is the fine arts magnet school for Clayton County here in Atlanta.
Oh, that's cool.
This is my second year there. I'm loving it. I mean, my piano classes are exactly that. I mean, like I said, I've got students that stay with me for 4 years, and I just try and take them to the next level. But my AP Music Theory classes are like classes of students who are in there that are guitar majors and orchestra majors and chorus and band and piano. So it's really pretty neat to have a mixture of everybody in there.
Yeah. How do you think that music education or just education in general has changed over the course of your career? And how do you view that? Because I'm certain that it has. I'm curious what your thoughts
are. Specifically music education?
Or just anything.
Just anything. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't see I don't think it's really changed much for the better.
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to look for a silver lining and kind of a positive thing to talk about. But when I talk about, when I started teaching, 19 years ago versus now, I know there's a lot more that we have to do as educators, which kind of spread us thin. But it all depends on where you are. I mean, kids are still kids, and kids still there. They still come to you with a passion, most of them, to learn. So, but I would say it's gotten a lot harder over the 19 years that I've been doing.
Sure. And I think the past 5 years have been particularly difficult. And I think I think every day we kind of uncover some of the detriment that has happened because of that period of time during COVID.
I don't know if you're aware, but they just this summer, they signed into Georgia state law that K through 8th graders are not allowed to have smartwatches. They're not allowed to have any kind of devices in the room because, I mean, they were really that whole screen time that we, just got so used to doing during COVID is really, we're still trying to recover from that.
Yeah. I'm now a tech director at a elementary school in St. Louis. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I've been at the school almost 3 years, and I mean, I love it.
Awesome.
But at the same time, it is a never ending struggle where dealing with technology and, without going into too much detail on it, depending on who's maybe listening to this, it's a challenge at a school to put up the guardrails and the restrictions on technology when there are a lot of parents that just let their kid be on a device from the moment they get home until the time they go back to school.
With absolutely no boundaries whatsoever.
No boundaries whatsoever.
And not even probably an idea of that they need to set them.
Yep.
And for what reasons.
That's exactly right. And that they are also not modeling it at all. Like in the car, wherever they are, it's a sad state of affairs, the way that technology is taught or not taught.
I was talking with the bass player at my church about that this morning, and he said that, they just recently let his eighth grade daughter start, using Spotify, and they would be getting flags because they said he knows how to set that all up as a parent. And they would be getting flags of all these songs that she was listening to with like horrible language and all this other stuff going on. And they eventually kind of shut it down, so, but a lot of parents don't know to do that.
That's exactly right. They don't know how to do it, or they just kind of turn a blind eye, or I don't know, maybe even some parents think, that's someone else's, it's fine. And what's that book, The Anxious Generation, talks about the fact that parents are so overprotective in the real world these days, but so underprotective in the digital world, and kind of let their kids just do whatever and don't think about the risks that are involved with that. It's really terrifying.
It really is. I agree.
It's really terrifying.
You can have access to anything nowadays.
Yeah, it's amazing. How do you leverage technology much in your classroom with your students, and how do you do that?
I use it fairly often, but I also try and stray away from it on purpose. I use technology, obviously, to show things to them, on YouTube, listening to show them pianists that I'd like them to listen to. I use it a lot for ear training. I use it a lot for teaching music theory. There's two websites, Musician and Aurelia, that are absolutely fantastic. I use technology for to let the kids arrange and do some short composition exercises. So we have like M Audio computer workstations, and I got some DAWs on the website like Soundtrap that I let them use.
Yeah, I use Soundtrap at my school as well. It's
really they love running with that. So we did a lot of composition projects last year. Plan to do a lot more this year. We got a nice piano lab set up for all the kids, about 16 keyboards with the conferencing system and whatnot. But it's a nice situation.
Man, that's a nice
situation. But
yeah,
I'm sure you know what I mean by I try and stay away from it sometimes too, because I think the kids appreciate coming into the room and not necessarily immediately pulling out their laptop and spending the whole hour and a half on it.
Yeah, well, and it's funny, I talk about this. It seems to come up a lot on here, talking about in this age of YouTube and
AI,
and whatever, whether you want to, whether it's a shortcut or a cheat code around learning things faster. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it, but I do think that there's a lot of value in having to sit down and figure it out on your own, and not being able to watch a video of someone kind of showing you how to do it.
Sure.
It requires it still takes the time to learn how to master a craft.
Yeah, that's actually an entire chapter in that Science of Rapid Skill Acquisition that I was talking about. I mean, they were like, would you rather be taught by somebody that was an immediate natural at their instrument, or would you rather be taught by somebody that's taken the time and the effort and the work and put in the man hours to really figure out how to do it? I know my answer.
Yeah, that's it. I know my answer. Yeah. Because when you're going through that process, the mistakes are probably way more important than the successes are, right?
How you recover.
Because how you recover, right? And then I'm going to go back and talk about what we talked about earlier about you being that young teenager playing at church. I mean, you probably learned more about the moments that you kind of strayed away than the moments that everything was just going really well as
I just looked up at everybody and went, it's jazz.
That's right. That's all it is, guys.
It's not about this note. It's about what note I play after.
That's right. That's where the magic really happens. Oh, that's funny. That's great. What was your first? So did you start teaching right out of college?
I did actually. So I graduated from Valdosta and I immediately went down. I got my first job in Miami, Florida. Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
It was like I just hopped on NAFME website and I was like, where can I go? And yeah, so they had my job was, it really kind of immediately fit my skill set. Cause I mean, there aren't too many people that are going to go down and teach class piano, be the assistant band director and the head choir director. So that was my job. I taught class piano, and then I directed the middle school and the beginning high school bands. And then I directed the high school and middle school choir.
Right out of college.
Yeah, that was.
How was that experience?
I learned a lot very quickly. Baptism by fire.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
wow.
It was great. It was enlightening. I was only down there the 1 year because Marist up here in Atlanta got in touch with me, and I came right up here after that to teach there.
That's right.
But
I forgot that you were at
Marist 5 years before I came to Wesleyan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of went right into the choir world. So it was just all choir. But yeah.
How is, and I haven't done, I've done, stood in front of instrumental ensembles a million times, but I've never really done much rehearsing a choir. How is it similar or different from rehearsing instrumentalists?
Sure. How is rehearsing a choir different than instrumentalists? Yeah. So they're a lot more sensitive as choir people, because I mean, it's their instrument and it's their voice. And I say that, it sounds jokingly, but you got to take that into consideration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is very true. Instrumentalists tend to be a little bit, more sarcastic and being able to kind of, take one on the chin, where choir people don't do that. So you got to watch that. But I still do a community choir here in town. And so even though I'm not teaching choir full time, I still get to do that. So there's a lot less you have to know about, like fingerings and slide positions and the intricacies of every instrument. And so in a way it's easier, you know what I mean? Because there's so many intricate things about how an oboe or a bassoon or a French horn work that make it very, very, the depth of knowledge as a band director that you have to have is fairly immense. With choir, you've got the 4 parts, and yes, you have a difference between male and female voices and the production of how that goes, but it does really essentially just, are you singing the right notes at the right time with the right tone in tune? You know what I mean? But I think one thing that I really like about choir more so than band is that you have the text to communicate.
Yeah,
which is
right.
kind of nice.
No,
you know what I mean? Because that's just an added element that the band instrumental world you don't get.
Yeah, that's really true. And I'm just sitting here thinking about that. It's, obviously as a band director, as an instrumental teacher, there's a certain subjective knowledge to be able to communicate what you want musically. But I feel like it might require even more of that when it is involving the human voice.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah. There's a certain amount of empathy and that's involved. But I'm glad I'm still getting to do choir, even though I don't do it at a school full time. So I've got a community group that I work with, about 74 voices, and we have a performance at the end of every semester, and it's a lot of fun. We're doing some great stuff. So
really. That's awesome. Yeah, I just love to hear a good choir, especially, you can really feel when the ensemble is behind what they're doing. We had
some great musical moments when I was at Wesleyan that I'm sure you got to witness as far as choir. There really were.
Oh, I'm just thinking about them right now. Yeah.
The quartet, I don't remember the quartet we did, Prayer of the Children, absolutely gorgeous. Just the 4 guys doing that song, which is absolutely wonderful. And you got to play drums on a lot of stuff that we got to do.
I know.
Which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There were some really nice moments musically that we got to. I was just thinking about it earlier before we hopped on here. Like, I think the highlight of the times at Wesleyan was the musicals that I got to do with you in the pit. That was a blast.
Yeah. We did some good ones. I was trying to think about all the ones that we did.
Hot Mikado.
Yes.
How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying.
Oh, man, that was a good one. That one kicked my ass. That was a good show. That was a fun show. Gosh, I forgot about how good that was.
It was really great. We did Into the Woods. We did Fiddler on the Roof. We did Kiss Me, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I still say to this day, I think I probably, over my time there, I probably played, I don't even know the count, somewhere between 50 and 100 shows while I was at Wesleyan, because I was there about almost 20 years.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize you were there for that long.
I was there 19 years. And Into the Woods was by far my favorite show that I ever played. I just, and it was
it's Sondheim.
It's Sondheim, right? Yeah, that is some unbelievable music. It really is pretty
gorgeous.
Yeah, it was so good.
Very talented cast of students that we had for that show too. I mean, all the shows we had some talented students, but that one particularly.
Yeah, it was special. I you have those moments in your career that you'll remember long after your days as a educator are done, and for me that will be one of them, because it was special.
Sure was. Yeah. The girl who played the witch, it was funny. I ran into her last spring up in New York City. We just ran into each other in a building. She was auditioning for West Side Story, and she's like, "Mr. Derringer," and I was like, "Christina." Just randomness. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Christina Austin. I ran into her.
Wow. So she's
up there like auditioning for shows and doing occasional shows. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was thinking, I was doing the same thing, just kind of thinking through all the fun stuff that we've done. And of course I'd be remiss without talking about, you doing the sing off stuff. And for everyone listening, Brock, can you kind of explain this format? Because it was so cool. I mean, it was
by no means, it wasn't an original idea. I mean, you have the Sing Off show created by Ben Folds and, what's his name from Boys to Men and Sarah Bareilles. But it was obviously, it was basically the end of our spring semester. We would pick a theme. Some of the themes that we had were the Beatles. We had Billy Joel.
We did Billy Joel.
But we picked a theme, and I would divide the choir into ensembles. And so they would pick, like, based on the Beatles song, their Beatles theme, they would pick like one or two Beatles songs that they would want to learn an a cappella arrangement of that song. And we would spend probably about 6 to 8 weeks, and they would learn the a cappella arrangement of that song. And I kind of flipped the classroom. I let them do a lot of the, piecing all the things together and making the musical choices and decisions, because that's important for them to learn how to do. So I just kind of took myself out of the driver's seat and let them do a little bit more of it. But the whole culminating event would be, I think the last one we did in the gym, it got so big. It was awesome. But it was really, awesome. Really pretty cool. All the groups would kind of get up there and they would present their songs, but like in between the songs or in between their performances, we would put together like a small cover band that would do like some songs from that particular artist, and just to break up the a cappella selections. But at the end, it was kind of neat. I would set up like a text voting service, and the student body would kind of just text vote who they thought the winner or the best ensemble would be. So it was a lot of fun. The kids really ran with it, and they loved it. Yeah,
one of my favorite memories of working at Wesleyan was the morning we did the rehearsal sound check with your ensemble when we did the Beatles thing, and they were on. I don't know if you remember. They were on risers
on the sides.
Next on the sides. And I think the first song, I can't remember, maybe it was Let It Be, or I know we did.
I know that we ended with Hey Jude.
Yeah. And we all started singing together. And I just remember looking around thinking, this is one of the coolest moments of my life as a musician, getting to do this with them. It was so much fun.
The end of that sing off, I will not forget. Like, the teachers were on their feet, like singing and swaying and like moving their arms and dancing. Like, the students were on their feet, doing the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of that song calls for, if you're singing Hey Jude and you are just seated on your seat with your arms crossed and the scowl on your face, like, you got to have ice water in your veins.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you should go into another line of work if that's what you're. You obviously have no joy in your life. Joy.
You probably hate Christmas too. Just
that's right. That's right. Yeah, that was so much fun. I mean, and all those guys that I played that with, we decided because of that to put together a little Beatles band that we eventually started going out and
George
playing.
And Steve and Mark.
Yeah, Mark who and Brooks, we all started playing started playing. We all went and did that because of that. And then I guess it was the next year was when we did the Billy Joel thing.
That was a blast.
That was a blast.
I actually I just recently finished like 2 days ago the Billy Joel documentary that they just released.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. How was it? It
was incredible, Brad. You got to watch it. You got to watch it. But that sing off was pretty special. It was pretty special. The kids had a blast learning about his music. I know the kids did. It's Still Rock and Roll to Me. I'm trying to think of some of the other a cappella pieces that the kids did. But yeah, then the band, we did what you sang, New York State of Mind.
Yeah, we did
Angry Young Man.
Because we were crazy people to do that.
That's exactly. I mean, that was the second tape I ever owned. Was Billy Joel's Russia concert, and it starts off with that. That's the second tape. I bought it in 1987, and so that was. I remember listening to that all the time. Angry Young Man.
It's funny you bring that up because when you just said that you saw the documentary, I was going to ask, did they talk about? Because I remember having that on tape as well, and remember watching it. Like when he flips the keyboard over and the whole deal. Did they talk about that? In the doc?
Do. It's not a huge part of it, but he does talk about like his kind of outreach overseas during those times, and they have specific clips from him being in Russia.
Yeah. So. Is he one of the people on your Mount Rushmore of musical heroes?
Absolutely.
How could he not be, right?
Just one of the greatest singer-songwriters ever to live. I mean, he's just he just evolved in so many different ways. Like, which I respect. Apparently, I didn't know before he was Billy Joel that he was in a metal band.
I didn't know
Attila.
That.
Yeah, Attila, like the Attila the Hun. Like, I'm going to go out. Yeah,
really.
Like he was in this metal band, and then I didn't know some of the soundscape albums that he did. He had some really. Watching this documentary, I heard a lot of songs I had never heard from him before. So, he's an amazing singer, songwriter,
and just that's it. And what a player! Mm-hmm. Good grief, what an amazing player! And he managed to honor everything that came before him while also pushing everything forward all at the same time. You know what I mean? What an amazing ability it had. You have to be able to do that.
Uncanny. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He I actually just ordered it. It's going to take about a month to get it, but he did this classical album called Fantasies and Delusions that I ordered.
I remember that
back in the early 2000s. And so just like I bought the Keith Jarrett Cone book after you introduced me to that, and I've been trying to learn that, I'm going to buy this Fantasies and Delusions and see what I can do about learning some of that.
Yeah. The Keith Jarrett.
Yeah, you recommended me to him. I had never heard of Keith Jarrett, which is horrible for me to say. But you told me check out the Cone concert, and that was just life-changing right there.
Life-changing.
There's not a pianist that plays with more heart than that guy.
No. He gets a lot of, he's notoriously a difficult person, I've heard.
To watch?
Like he was, he'd be very, very critical on the audience and rightfully so. The guy could command his audience to be, quiet and listen, but I think he would, he'd be kind of difficult. But you're right. I don't know anyone that could, and also that would just walk in and sit down in front of in a hall full of people and just improvise a concert and it be to the quality of that. And I think the story of that is that when he recorded that, he had his travel had been delayed and he was running, like he showed up to the venue not long before he was supposed to play, and the piano was not the one it was supposed to be, and he was playing on an instrument that he was not comfortable with, and still managed to play that is captured, forever. Just incredible.
It really is. He's the only pianist I know that looks like he's going into labor when he plays too.
Yeah.
But that's just, that's just the eccentric quality coming into his playing.
Yeah. And I love his playing as a solo player, but I love to hear him play.
Sorry.
That's all right.
What were you saying?
I love his playing as a solo artist, but also hearing him play in a trio or playing in an ensemble. He's, there's some overlap there, but he's two very different but equally as amazing instrumentalists. He's so good.
He's definitely an influence that, Billy Joel, Keith Jarrett. I think even more so, but I don't ever have an opportunity of ever playing like him, but Oscar Peterson for sure.
Oh man.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, one could only wish to be able to play like that.
Yeah. Yeah, what just the feel and just the voicings, I mean, my wife and daughter have decided in the last few months that they want to learn how to play the piano. It's really fun. We bought a keyboard for our house and they both decided they want to play. It's really fun. And I think they both have a greater understanding now of just how difficult music's hard. And it's hard. There's a lot going on. The rhythmic piece of it, the melodic piece of it, and then just playing it with feeling and it not just being a mechanical exercise. It's hard, you know?
It is. It is. It's interesting that you talk about that because I've actually, one of my goals for this year is to kind of demystify that the hardness of playing music. And what I mean by that is I quite often have people come up to me sometimes and they're like, you do what can't be taught when they listen to me play. And part of me goes, thank you. But the other part of me goes, it can be taught. You just have to figure out how to piece it all together, And so I'm actually with my classes this year thinking about doing we already started talking. We've only been in school for a week, but I've already talked about the 7 elements of music. You already touched on a couple of them, but it's melody, rhythm, harmony, dynamics, timbre, texture, and form. And talking about how those 7 elements are things in and of themselves that have kind of rules that kind of you can apply to them. You know what I mean? But they also have rules and influences on each other. Like how does rhythm influence form? How is harmony influenced by form? How does dynamics influence melodic structure? And really kind of talking about that. It's interesting. I'm not really sure how it's all going to work out, but I think it might be onto a little something here.
I love that idea. And whereas I'm just thinking of them as like a color wheel, maybe that there are moments where this one is going to take center stage, but maybe this one is going to move into, into first place. It's really, what a great idea that is. And that, so much, I think young musicians, they focus on melody and rhythm and that's it. And a lot of times it's only one or the other, I mean, I think people that play a melodic instrument, or whether that be their voice or whatever, they focus so much on the melodic information that typically the rhythmic part of it suffers, and that, it kind of falls by the wayside. Whereas, I grew up as a percussionist, we spend so much time focusing on learning rhythm that the melodic piece of it then suffers, and it requires focusing on all of this. And then, you bring in the harmonic piece, but then that entire musical part of it where, the expressive element of it comes into play, right? And when do you focus on that part of it? Is it throughout the entire process, or is it after you learn the nuts and bolts of whatever it is that you're learning? Do you then focus on it? I don't know. I could sit and talk about this part of it for
pretty
hours,
fascinating. And I'm actually really kind of excited because this is, and that's the thing I love about teaching is like, I've been doing it for 19 years, but now I'm just like, even right now at the beginning of a new year, I'm figuring out like a different way to still try and teach what I've been teaching, but maybe do it in a better way that can really take them and really make a big difference in their performance, but not only their performing capabilities, but how they listen to music, how they digest it. I've really been telling them, I was like, the more you learn about each of these things and how they influence each other and you add vocabulary into each of them, you're really going to start listening to music in a different way.
Yeah. Well, and I would hope that your students, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. I hope your students realize the educator that they're getting to learn from, that after 19 years of teaching, you are still trying to sharpen your saw to know how to teach them best for where they are generationally. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's there are a lot of educators out there that however they learn how to do it in college is the way that they try to do it throughout their entire career. And that doesn't make them effective.
No.
It just
or
doesn't.
Unfortunately, in the music field, what's really, really easy, and one of my main mentors, who actually I just talked to a few weeks ago, I don't know if you ever met Kerry Bragg. He's a saxophone player here in town. But,
yeah, I know. I remember that. I know that name.
But he told me directly out of college, he's like, you got to concentrate on the process, not the product. You know
That's
what I mean?
It.
Yes, the product's important, but
That's
the process is just even more so.
That's exactly right. And I completely agree. And I think that, and it transcends music, right? If you can learn the process, if you can learn how to do the process, it will it will go into anything else. Like learning how to learn that's it. Yeah,
I'm going to try and do that 7 elements with my classes, along with that science of rapid skill acquisition. And I'm just going to be hopefully cranking out a bunch of Oscar Petersons this year, Brad. They're going to.
I think it's going to happen, folks. You heard it here first. But you never know. You just don't ever know. And in an age where I feel like the attention span is getting shorter and shorter, and it's, we're constantly, where anything you want is at your fingertips almost all the time. Teaching the next generation that excellence takes patience and time it's important work that you're doing. It's important.
Well, work. I mean, you're right. One of the thank you for saying that. And one of the challenges with teaching an instrument or a skill-based thing right now, especially piano, and I'm sure you've seen this, is this synthesia, where they have the little things. It's Guitar Hero, but they have the buttons going down the screen, and you just press the keys on your piano. Like I've got students that like to learn about like that, but it's interesting because even just only being there 1 year, like some of the kids, like they're like, now that I'm learning actually how to read music, like I can see why this synthesia thing isn't really the best thing. And I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah. If you ever wind up on a gig someday and they're passing out charts, you're probably not going to get one.
A bunch of dots flowing down a screen. No.
No.
And if it ever happens to be that way, I'm hanging up my hat. I might be done.
That's exactly right.
The old man in me is taking over.
That's right. Amazing. Well, Brock, man, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today.
Awesome.
Just catching up.
Awesome,
man. I'm just so thankful that I had an opportunity to be a colleague of yours for a period of time in my career and just get to have a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun getting to make music with you. It was a lot of fun.
I always look forward. Whenever we were at the start of something, I knew we had something special going on. And it was going to be a blast.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I think I got better as a musician because of my time getting to make music with you. So I thank you for that.
Same here.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So, well, best of luck, and just thank you for what you're doing, educating and performing and everything you're doing, man. Just keep it up, because it's important work.
I appreciate it, man. I think so.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it every day. So
there you go. Well, best of luck for a great
school
year.
I appreciate it, man. If I'm ever in St. Louis, I'm gonna hit you up.
Do it. Let's do it. All right.